At first glance, this might look like just another routine tree removal job, but within the next few minutes, you'll discover why this mission became one of the most challenging and emotional experiences imaginable. What starts as a dangerous cleanup quickly turns into a series of difficult decisions where safety, skill, and compassion all collide. The tree you're looking at isn't standing normally anymore. It's part of a large co-dominant tree that has already suffered a major structural failure, with one half crashing to the ground. The remaining section is unstable, making every move around it potentially hazardous. Before climbing even begins, the crew has already spent considerable time clearing debris just to. Although the property owner isn't worried about damage to the surrounding field, simply cutting the tree from the ground isn't a safe option. Massive limbs extend in every direction, the base is badly decayed, and the trunk is far larger than the chainsaw bar can handle. Because of these conditions, climbing the tree and removing weight piece by piece becomes the safest and most controlled approach. Instead of taking the easiest path, the climber chooses to scale the leaning trunk almost like a rock climber. It's an unusual decision that demands confidence, balance, and complete trust in climbing equipment. Every upward movement requires carefully testing each foothold because one mistake on a weakened tree could have serious consequences.
As the climb continues, it's easy to underestimate how physically demanding this work really is. Tree climbing isn't just about strength, it's about maintaining constant awareness. Every rope adjustment, every anchor point, and every movement has to be planned several steps ahead while suspended high above the ground. Even experienced professionals often review their own work and notice things they could have done differently. That's part of what makes dangerous professions unique. Every job becomes another opportunity to learn, improve techniques, and make safer decisions the next time similar conditions appear. Now the climber finally reaches the working height, where the real operation begins. The goal isn't simply to remove branches quickly. Each cut has to be carefully planned, so the limbs fall into safe areas without damaging equipment or creating new hazards below. Precision is far more important than speed. Watching from the ground, it may seem effortless, but every branch carries unpredictable weight. Some are under heavy tension, while others can swing unexpectedly once released. Reading how wood will react before making each cut is one of the most valuable skills an experienced arborist develops over years of practice. As more branches come down, the remaining structure slowly becomes lighter and easier to control. Everything appears to be going according to plan. But hidden inside this damaged tree is something nobody on the crew expects to find. And that single discovery is about to change the entire direction of the job. With the upper canopy becoming lighter, the cutting process starts to speed up. But every branch presents a different challenge. Some pieces are twisted together after years of growth, making their movements almost impossible to predict. Even a perfectly placed cut doesn't always guarantee that a branch will fall the way you expect. As several limbs are removed, the crew quickly realizes that nature doesn't always follow textbook rules. Branches remain suspended after being cut because they've grown into each other over time. Situations like this force experienced climbers to stop, reassess, and adapt instead of rushing the next cut. Working high above the ground also means paying attention to every rope and every tool. One small mistake, like allowing debris to land on a climbing line, can create unnecessary complications. Thankfully, good communication between the climber and the ground crew helps solve small problems before they become dangerous ones. Just when everything seems to be under control, the entire job changes in an instant. While checking inside a hollow section of the trunk, the climber unexpectedly discovers movement. Hidden deep inside the decayed tree is a mother raccoon protecting her young. What was moments ago a routine removal has suddenly become a wildlife rescue situation. The atmosphere immediately shifts. Instead of focusing only on removing the tree, the crew now has to consider the safety of the animals living inside it. Finding wildlife during tree work is uncommon, and every decision from this point forward carries consequences. Not just for the workers, but for the raccoon family as well. Rather than making a rushed decision, the crew pauses the operation and begins discussing possible solutions. This moment highlights something many people never see behind professional tree work. Sometimes the biggest challenge isn't operating the equipment, it's deciding what the right thing to do actually is.
While different options are being considered, work continues cautiously on sections of the tree that won't disturb the nest. Each branch is lowered with control, keeping the operation moving while buying valuable time to think through the situation. It's a careful balance between completing the job and avoiding unnecessary risk to the animals. Even during this difficult moment, precision remains essential. Every branch is cut so it lands as flat as possible, reducing impact and keeping the work area safe. These controlled cuts demonstrate how much planning goes into each movement, especially when unexpected circumstances arise. Eventually, the crew speaks with the property owner to discuss the discovery. Unfortunately, finding a perfect solution isn't as simple as it sounds. With limited wildlife assistance available and a dangerous tree that still needs to come down, the team faces a genuine ethical dilemma. Whatever decision they make, someone or something could be affected. The hardest part of the job is only beginning. At this stage, the job becomes much more than simply removing a dangerous tree. After speaking with the homeowner and considering every available option, the crew realizes there isn't a perfect solution. Wildlife rescue services aren't immediately available, the tree remains unsafe, and delaying the work could create even greater risks. Sometimes professionals are forced to choose between difficult options rather than ideal ones. With no practical alternative, the team decides on the most careful approach possible. Instead of allowing the tree to crash to the ground, the goal is to lower it as gently as conditions will allow, giving the raccoon family the best possible chance of surviving the impact. Every step from this point is taken with far more caution than before. As the final preparations begin, the atmosphere noticeably changes. Earlier, the focus was on climbing techniques and cutting strategy. Now, everyone's attention is on the hollow section of the trunk where the animals are hiding. The success of the operation is no longer measured only by safely removing the tree, but also by what happens immediately afterward. Once the tree reaches the ground, the crew wastes no time checking the hollow cavity. This is the moment everyone has been hoping for. After carefully inspecting the trunk, they discover encouraging signs that the raccoons have survived the fall. The mother raccoon quickly escapes the area, following her natural instincts to get away from the commotion. Meanwhile, the baby raccoons are found alive inside the hollow section of the trunk. For a job that seemed destined to end in disappointment, this outcome is far better than anyone had expected. With the emotional part of the situation behind them, the crew shifts its focus back to the technical work. Large sections of the tree still need to be processed, and each heavy piece has to be handled carefully. Even though the biggest concern has passed, the dangers of working around massive timber remain exactly the same. One detail that stands out throughout this operation is the amount of preparation involved. Protective plywood is placed across the ground, equipment is positioned strategically, and every movement is coordinated between the climber and the ground crew. These behind-the-scenes efforts often go unnoticed, but they play a major role in keeping both the workers and the property safe. As the cleanup continues, the enormous burn area on the property becomes a reminder of just how much material comes from a single mature tree. Jobs like this involve far more than simply making cuts. Transporting debris, maintaining safety zones, and coordinating heavy equipment all require careful planning from start to finish. By now, the most stressful part of the operation is over, but the work itself is far from finished. The remaining sections of the trunk still demand patience and precision. One final stage remains before this dangerous tree can be completely removed, and even at this point, there's no room for complacency. As the final stage of the operation begins, the focus shifts from removing branches to bringing down the remaining trunk. This is often the most demanding part of any tree removal, because one incorrect cut can completely change how the tree behaves. Even though most of the weight has already been removed, the remaining timber still carries enormous force. Interestingly, the crew notices nearby neighbors watching the entire operation from a distance.
It's a reminder that tree work often attracts attention because people know they're witnessing something both dangerous and fascinating. Despite the audience, experienced professionals understand that safety always comes before trying to impress anyone. Now comes one of the more technically challenging parts of the job. Because the trunk is simply too wide for the available chainsaw bar, the climber has to work from a ladder positioned higher up the tree. It's not the preferred method, but sometimes unusual situations require carefully planned alternatives when standard techniques aren't enough. Even with years of experience, oversized trees demand constant communication. From this position, the climber can't clearly see every side of the cut, making the ground partner's guidance extremely important. This is where teamwork becomes just as valuable as technical skill, with each person relying on the other to make safe decisions.
Another challenge becomes obvious as the cutting continues. The lower portion of the trunk is badly decayed and partially hollow, making it difficult to predict exactly how the wood will respond. Rotten timber doesn't behave like healthy wood, so every cut has to be made slowly and carefully while watching for any unexpected movement. With both top and bottom cuts gradually lining up, the final release is getting closer. Every second now requires patience. Rushing at this stage could undo all the careful planning that has gone into the operation. The crew communicates constantly, checking alignment and making small adjustments before committing to the final cut. At last, the remaining trunk begins to give way exactly as intended. Months or even decades of growth come to an end in just a few seconds. But reaching this moment has required years of training, careful preparation, and complete concentration. It's a powerful reminder that successful tree work is built on planning rather than luck.
With the tree safely on the ground, the team immediately returns to the hollow section to check once more on the wildlife they discovered earlier. Thankfully, the baby raccoons are alive, bringing a positive ending to what could have become a heartbreaking situation. Considering the difficult circumstances, the outcome couldn't have been much better. This job wasn't memorable simply because of the size of the tree. It became unforgettable because it tested technical ability, teamwork, patience, and compassion all at the same time. From climbing a dangerous hollow trunk to making difficult ethical decisions and successfully completing the removal, every stage demonstrated that true professionalism isn't measured only by finishing the job. It's measured by how responsibly you handle the unexpected challenges that arise along the way.